All right, I got Mike Yenke on the show here, and he's a young cat like me doing deals virtually. You live in the Boston area, but you're buying houses in Colorado. And I love bringing young guys on the podcast, especially young guys who are doing fucking deals. And I'm pumped for this interview. We're actually going to see each other in like a month, literally like a month, down at Investment School. And we connected, like a month ago? I think, we got some mutual friends or whatever. We heard each other's podcasts and, fucking love meeting people who are my age doing big things in the business, man. So let's just kind of get into how did you because right now you're living in Boston, you're virtually investing in Colorado. So we'll cover that. But how did you just get into real estate? Because most people our age don't do this. They can do this, but they just choose to not do this. They don't think it's possible. So it's always cool to see young people obviously making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, well, first, thanks for having me on, Greg.
My pleasure.
Like this podcast a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess how'd I get into it? It was kind of not a mistake, but not I wasn't intentionally trying to get into this side of real estate. I wanted to get into the investment side, the equity side of it. I was working at on the debt side at a commercial mortgage REIT for 2 years called Arbor Realty Trust, learning all about, multifamily properties and sizing conventional loans for larger properties. And my buddy, whose dad is in real estate, heard some radio ad about go to this seminar and,
get rich,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I bought tickets to this. Let's go. You should come with me.
I did the same thing, bro. That's crazy. I went to a fucking
thing. I was like, I'm like, Rob, come on. What are we doing? We're not going over, what is this? And then so I went for a day. I actually couldn't do the 2 other days because I had to go somewhere. But kind of that sparked it. Then I just started listening to podcasts, Bigger Pockets, everything. Looked at kind of all the different ways you could get into it. And then once COVID hit last year, kind of gave me the opportunity to start trying to make some calls and, try to do this. Started by driving for dollars and I was determined to be like, all right, if I'm doing it, I'm not doing it with any money. I'm going to do this and just reinvest it. And my buddy and I ended up finding the deal, called the guy, Google Voice, and found it. It was the hardest deal I've done to this day.
Where was it?
And it was in Sudbury, Mass.
North Shore?
No, just west of Boston,
okay.
40 minutes. So actually my hometown. And so found the deal. Guy wanted to sell. Attorneys were throwing wrenches in the mix, left, right, and center. And went through every buyer we could find, every Facebook group, couldn't find a buyer for it, had a price too high. Made every mistake you could have made. And then ended up the last guy that looked at it, literally the last guy we said we would have look at it, was put the only offer in that we had on the whole property, and sold it, and then just kept reinvesting it. And then after that whole debate, that was craziness. So at that point I was like, I'm not doing this in Mass again. I'll try to do this virtually.
Because of the attorneys?
Yeah, because of the attorneys. So
same thing in New York.
At that point I was still working my 9 to 5. My thinking was okay, if I do something 2 hours behind me, in a time zone 2 hours behind, I can, that gives me 2 extra hours basically.
Yeah.
To do work. So to do this. And so that's how, and it was I was kind of telling you before the show, it was kind of a series of mistakes to get to where we are now. We tried doing it in 3 different markets, Vegas, Texas, and another one in Texas at once to try to but I spread myself too thin. Couldn't get buyers for any of the deals. I don't think we locked anything up, but I kind of figured out we wouldn't be able to get buyers. It was kind of apparent to me. So then we ended up just zeroing in on one market, and that was with my partner at the time. And beginning of this year, we split off, and we've both been doing our thing. So
I got a question for you about the Mass attorney thing, because I do a lot of business.
Yeah.
So I got a question, because I have a good friend Justin Silverio, who's he actually lives I I forget where he lives on the North Shore. He owns Open Letter Marketing, so I send a shitload of.
So I know of Justin. I don't know Justin, but
he's cool as hell, dude. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of deals in Mass. And there's another guy, Tom Caffarella. Have you heard of him?
I think I've heard the name. Yeah.
Big Ocean City Development. They're a big wholesale flip brokerage. Anyway, so in Massachusetts, so I'll set the stage here, and then we'll get into your virtual business. That's what everyone wants to do. So this is selfish, but I don't give a fuck. It's my podcast. Yeah. All right. In New York, when a seller says yes, like this, when a seller says yes, their attorney sends my attorney a contract. And then usually there's like a fucking big deposit that needs to get put down. When I say big deposit, usually they want like 40 grand. I end up settling on like 20 grand or 1,000. Right. And then it's like this kind of like limbo period for like 2 weeks. So one time I had a house, we were in limbo for 2 months. We couldn't get a contract because everyone was dicking around. In Massachusetts, is it the same exact thing, or can you have a seller sign and then one attorney does the entire deal?
No. So when we had to do it, you have to sign an offer, and then you have a purchase and sale agreement that the attorneys work out.
Oh.
And so when you sign an offer in Mass, if you go by the state, documents, right, that's when they put down the 5% or whatever it is, 10%. So when we did it, I mean, the house was a $400,000 house, and they're asking us to put down like 10 grand or something.
Yeah, they usually ask for 10 grand. Yeah, that's generally.
And I'm like, I'm doing this without any money, and I'm like, I'm not putting 10 grand out. So that was the first thing we had to get through. And the dude that was selling the house was an engineer, like a computer engineer. So he looked at every detail of everything and didn't like making decisions. And so it was just a nightmare to try to, explain to him why we didn't want to put down $10,000. And so we ended up making it happen. We ended up doing like an inspection period and being like, all right, we'll put the 10 grand down after this 10-day inspection period. And that was like, the second that he signed that, it was like, we got to get a buyer within 10 days because they'll put the 10 grand down.
So then the buyer put the 10 grand down.
That's how we did it. Yeah. Yeah. But it was, and we had to work around it. It was the only way we could figure it out. So
that's the Northeast. Dude, I do stuff in Jersey too, and it's the same bullshit. It's the same crap. I mean, that's just the way it is up in like New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. It gets like that. So anyway, I'm glad you guys made money on that deal. Was it a big wholesale deal, or was it like just a get your foot in the door?
I mean, we made every mistake we could have made. Like we had a realtor helper. We found some realtor guy that would help us out finding a buyer because he had all the connections or whatever in the state, or like a bunch of connections that he could put it into different groups and whatever. And so I told him we'd split the thing with him. And so it was like, it should have been like, again, comparatively speaking, it should have been a big spread for the time. It should have been like a $20,000 spread for us, but it really ended up being like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 because
that's better than zero. And it was your first deal.
Better than zero. Yeah. Half a watermelon's better than a whole grape. So, that was kind of my thinking on it. So
I love it. It's all about getting the experience in the beginning, and it doesn't matter, if it's ugly or pretty or whatever the dollar amount is. It's like proof of concept. Like you did a deal, you're like, holy shit! Like I actually made money without needing to use my own money, and then obviously the rest is history. So let's kind of jump into your business now. Now you're not doing this in Denver, I'm assuming. That market is very competitive. No.
So that was the thinking was okay. I don't want to go into some massive market like Boston or something that everyone's,
hitting up,
biting each other's heads off to get a deal. So believe it or not, I listened to a bunch of Sean Terry videos when I was doing all this. And his thing was like, look, if you're going to do it virtually, look for like something that's like 100,000 to 200,000 people, like that size of a market. So I narrowed it down to like Utah and Colorado, and then I narrowed it down to markets that were that size. And then I narrowed it down to, what's the most kind of distressed area, but there's still investment going on.
Yeah.
And we came across Pueblo, Colorado, which at the time was, there was a little bit of competition, but really there weren't many of that people buying down there from Denver. And now it's like everyone from Denver wants to buy down there. So it's been kind of crazy over the last year, honestly.
Pueblo, that's where the Undercover Billionaire show was out of. Grant Cardone.
Yeah. So then that happened too. Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I was just like, I was reading something, 3-4 months into, maybe 5 months into doing it. And I'm like, Pueblo, no way that like Grant Cardone's going to Pueblo to do this.
Yeah. I've heard of Pueblo. I couldn't tell you where it is on a map, but I've heard of it. So now you're
close.
Where is it?
It's closer to New Mexico than it is to Denver. It's right south of Denver, but closer to New Mexico.
Okay. So it's down that main highway or whatever. I was driving to, I drove from San Diego to New York, and I drove like above Colorado, and I was in like Wyoming, and like Denver was 2 hours south. So this is even obviously further south.
Right down 25. Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you been to Pueblo yet, or this has been 100% virtual?
Yeah.
You've been there.
I was there. I've ended up having to go out about once a quarter.
Once a quarter.
And it's not planned like that. It's just how it works. So, yeah.
Now, do you fly to Denver and then get a rental and drive down there?
Yeah. So I have buddies out there. I got like 3 or 4 buddies that went to school out there that still live out there. I got my girlfriend's actually from out there. And so I have a lot of connections. I just fly in, stay at one of their houses or get a hotel and then just drive down for the day, come back up, go out for a night, and then head back.
Get out of there, get back to the Northeast. Now, is there a lot of mountains out here in Pueblo, or is it kind of like the middle of fucking nowhere?
No, it's like the way I describe it, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I hope no one from Pueblo is listening, but it's like the town of Breaking Bad.
Oh, it's like New Mexico. It's like a meth head.
Yeah, it's like basically like New Mexico, and it's like there's a really good area of Pueblo. There's like a really bad area of Pueblo, and then there's kind of the middle, and it's mostly the middle.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so
let's get into the logistics now. So like not the logistics. Let's get into like what exit strategies are you doing out there? Like, what does your business model kind of look like from a high level perspective? And then we'll cover maybe some systems that you've developed. Obviously, you're not living in Colorado. You go there once a quarter. So I'm sure you have some people that, you have to work with in order to operate efficiently.
Yes. So I don't know what your listener base is, if it's a lot of beginners or like people that are doing it, but
a little bit of both.
I would say if you're a beginner and you're trying to get going and do it virtually, the one thing that helped me a lot was getting a realtor on your side that's in town. So like develop a relationship, find who are the big players are in town, call them all, find one that seems like they really actually do want to help you and that you can help them too. So I have a guy, Dave, who he was like one of the first realtors I called. I told him, look, I got this deal. I'll give you actually a 3% commission on the price we sell it at. If you find yeah. And so that helped me kind of get into the game there. And he's, to this day, I just got off a call with him. He's selling a flip we just did. He's awesome. And I help him. He helps me. It's kind of, he takes photos of houses for me now. I mean, like, he kind of gives me the lowdown on what's going on. And so that's kind of how that works. In terms of other stuff, are you like, I have another guy down there, Greg, who, what?
Are you buying on the phone, or you have someone going to the appointments?
Yeah, no, everything's on the phone. So nothing. I've never met a seller. I met one seller, but it was, I was down there at the time so I saw him at the house. But
okay.
So basically, the entire process, I guess I'll just give you the high level of it. It's, we're doing our marketing, and I can get into that if you want me to,
sure.
But so we get a seller that wants to sell, I talk to him, we work out negotiate the price, negotiate what needs to happen. What do they need from us to do with us, right? What's the big problem we can solve for them? Yeah. And then after that, we get it under contract, just e-sign everything. I make sure I get it under contract, and then I have one of my guys go, whether it's Dave or someone else that I have down there, go take photos of the house. So line up a time for him to go take photos of the house. We push it out to the buyers at that point. And then we'll have an inspection if we need one. And if not, we'll just sell it. But that's kind of the process we have. And then for the inspections, sometimes I don't even have someone there for me. I just have a lockbox on the house, tell the buyers here's the number, or sometimes I'll just have, one of the buyers that I know pretty well, just open the house up and let everyone in. If I need someone there, I'll call them, and you know what I mean? So
So if you need to, like, that's something I've noticed as we've been doing more wholesales recently is the log jam, or the kink in the hose, as they would say, is like the seller's living in the house. We're trying to get a buyer in there, and, you know, we're trying to sell our wholesale deals at premiums, and like that's been bogging us down. So you have someone obviously there to kind of, I call it conducting traffic. Like we had a traffic conduction yesterday where I had my friend go there and kind of keep peace between the seller and then the buyers. So no one's dicking around, you know?
Exactly. I have a guy that, you know, I put a Craigslist ad out a while ago for something else to do some driving for dollars. The guy ended up being a good guy, and I'll call him, and sometimes he'll just I tell him, you know, conducting traffic. I tell the seller, look, there's going to be a small army coming in. If you have questions, you can talk to Dan, and he'll answer anything. He won't know any specifics about the deal, so keep that between you and I, and Dan can answer any questions you have about what's going on, you know, with our investors.
I love it, dude. It's so simple, and people they overcomplicate virtual investing. It's literally like I don't, like, some people are like, how do you do deals with that? I'm like, dude, you literally do the same thing you would do in the house, but just on the phone. It's the same shit.
Right. And you got to set the stage. Yeah, set the stage. Like, set expectations, right? Like, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we work. We're not, you know, I'm in Boston. That's the first thing I tell them. Look,
you tell them you're in Boston? I never even say.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if they sometimes they're a little uneasy about that. They're like, who are you? I don't get it, blah, blah, blah. And then if they do that, I just say, look, we work with the title company in town, land title. If you need references, or you need, like, there's a lot of guys that aren't going to close on the deals. If we, you know, if someone in our network doesn't close on it, we will close on it. You can ask the title company. We're not going to cancel deals unless there's something seriously wrong that you didn't tell us. So that's kind of what I do. And then they'll call the title company. The lady we work with, you know, loves me, and she gives us a good word. So, and it makes them feel better.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. So, all right, now that brings up my second question now, or second part. Now, you're taking these deals down now too in Pueblo? You're not only wholesaling, so you'll take a deal down and fix it up and sell it, or wholesale it?
Yeah, we've done that. So the first one we did was we wholesaleed it, just cleaned it out and did that. Yeah. We just today it's supposed to be closing, was the first flip we did. That's been a nightmare.
Yeah, like you went there and worked on it and
yeah, I had guys working on it. Yeah, it's been a nightmare though. I mean,
I know.
It's something I wouldn't. Yeah. Here's what I would say about that. We'll make a lot of money on it. I'm glad we made the decision we did with it. At the same time, it's taken so much time out of my day to do. You know, I don't have a full team yet. I'm really a solo guy still. I'm trying to hire an acquisitions manager, trying to do all that right now. We got a lot of volume, and it's tough because you got to dispo a deal, and then you got to go get more deals, and it's kind of makes it really tough. And so for me, doing that flip, it's taken so much time out of my day dealing with contractors and all kinds of other stuff that it's kind of taken away from the wholesaling business a little bit. So, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend doing many of those until you have a team in place. I don't know what your take is on that, but for me,
no, I agree with you, dude. The thing I always tell people is there's two businesses. I'm going to find distressed property and get it under contract business, aka marketing, and then there's I own real estate now. I got to either rent it out or sell it business. And the second part I just said, that's a whole other skill set. I mean, I do select rehabs. I'll rehab to rent. I'll rehab to sell sometimes. But if I'm going to take a deal down, I look at it like, okay, if I buy this house, what can I put this on the market for the next day without doing shit? And can I make a profit? And generally that's like a path of least resistance. I'd rather do that than fart around with a rehab and you got permits and, you know, assholes breaking in. Like, we buy a lot of houses in like the hood and shit. Like, anyway, so that's phenomenal. 100%. That you gave those. What's the price point in Pueblo, Colorado? Dude, I'm like fascinated. I have no idea where this even is. I feel like, you know, what are you guys?
Most of the deals we're buying are anywhere between $45,000 and $85,000. Yeah. So like the flip we did, what?
I would just pay cash for these houses. I wouldn't even fucking get hard money.
Oh no, we're not. I haven't used hard money. That's the thing. So I actually have a couple guys that do like private. They'll lend me private money. So that's been good, and they just take 10% of the spread. That's kind of so I'm not paying them every month, and they're like, you know, just give me 10% of any of the equity, you know, whatever it makes. Yeah, so it's been great. But that part of it's been good. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, you know, I had a buddy who's from where you're around your parts there, and he went to John Jay, and he's
Who is the guy?
you know, from New York. His name's John Lopez. He's probably shouldn't say that on there, but
John Lopez.
He was a football player. He played at John Jay, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But he was asking me because he works for a bank in New York City, and he wants to get into like something like this, like buying property.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, but how do you get the money? I'm like, John, if you get the deal, it will blow your mind, but the money will come. Like, you can find the money. It's crazy. And he's like, no way. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I promise you, if you find a deal in White Plains and it's a good enough deal, I can guarantee you.
I'll get the
you
money.
Can find the
I'll
money.
buy it.
I said, I'll help you find the money. Yeah, exactly. So.
Dude, that is such. I hope the listeners rewind this, because that was like something that I struggled with. It's like I couldn't imagine somebody spending $200,000 to like fund one of my deals if I wasn't wholesaling it. And like I didn't understand it. I'm like, what do you mean someone's going to give me money? I'm 23 years old. This is back in the day, and like it's like if most wholesalers like that bring me houses that they try to sell them to me, or they want me to JV with them, they get very disappointed because I'm explaining to them, there's a reason you can't sell this house is because it's not a good deal. And this is why it's not a good deal. And that's why I wouldn't fund it, or I wouldn't buy it, or I wouldn't want to put it out to my list, because the numbers, there's no logic behind this deal. And like you said, if you have a good deal, you get a private lender in 2 minutes, because they're like, oh, wait, this house is worth 150, and wait, you're buying it for 75. Oh, and it needs 35 grand. So you want me to give you 75 grand or whatever, and you're going to pay me 12%. And if you fuck up, I'm just going to be able to foreclose and own this house. I would rather do that than give my money to the bank for
right. 100%. And that's kind of where they're coming from too, is like, you know, it's better than the bonds it's in or whatever. Right. So
exactly.
That's what, and yeah, I mean, I think, like what you said, when you find a good deal, the avenues are just wide open for what you can do. Right. So, and again, going back to my point, I mean, we bought a duplex like a month and a half ago. It's been nothing but a nightmare. And I know I've heard you talk about the one you guys bought on your podcast. I mean, nothing but a nightmare already. And so it's just a whole nother, you know, there's real estate investing, and then there's wholesaling. Like they're not one and the same. So
yes, so true. Totally.
But yeah, I don't know, the business, that's kind of that's the process to answer your question, is pretty much we get it under contract before we have anyone go there. I'm not going to waste people's time going there if it's not under contract, including the guys I work with on the ground.
Yeah.
And then we put it, get photos, put it out to the buyers, handle the disposition process from there. So
I love it, man.
You're
keeping it simple, and that's why you're successful. It's like you're not like sitting here like, oh my God, wait a minute, I gotta be at least a Colorado resident in order to buy these, and then I also got to be a Denver Broncos fan. It's like, no, get some fucking make some offers, and get a couple of houses and make some money. What do you guys do for marketing out there? Because
it's a good question. So we started with the text message marketing. That was what we started with.
Yeah. And
that was kind of when no one was doing it. I mean, believe it or not, back in July of last year, there wasn't that many people doing it. We were getting a lot more deals, it seemed like then. No, we started by using Bash, actually.
Okay.
And it was good. We're still doing it, but it's definitely not. It's the numbers have significantly dropped.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Yeah. And so as those went down, I hired more cold callers. So I got 3 cold callers right now in the Philippines calling. And then one person texting and handling all the administrative stuff for me. A VA. Is this loud enough or am I?
No, I'm itching my foot right now because I.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm itching my foot. Yeah.
Okay. No, so yeah, we got a VA in the Philippines doing the texting and like all the admin stuff that I need, and then I kind of handle the acquisitions and dispositions right now for everything. So I had a disposition manager for a little while. He was just kind of interning for me, so he ended up going back to school, but and that was great. But right now we're trying to find acquisitions people, so
dude,
it's been
I'm like so pumped up about this podcast just because like you're the same age as me. You're living in an expensive market where it is a lot harder to get houses. You said, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this in another market. And you kept it simple. You built a very healthy team where like everyone like you don't need to have 3 acquisitions people. You do it all in-house that you can do. You have the boots on the ground out there that need to be at the property if it's something that's critical. And you're buying houses 2,000 miles away from your office in, the Boston area, and you're investing in a town I've never even heard of except for the Underground Millionaire Show. It's like, it's so cool.
It's been good. I mean, look, it's crazy how, if you just put your mind to something, like how much you can achieve. I would never have thought I would have been doing the volume I'm doing right now. At the same time, it's definitely like being a solopreneur or whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, it's a job, right? I'm not running
absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned right now, it's a job for me. It's not a business that I've created. So that's what I'm working on. And it's, like you can get burnt out. I got burnt out a couple months ago after doing a bunch of stuff. So, yeah. So it's, I think too many people are spreading this BS about it being some freaking, all rainbows and sunshine all the time, working for yourself and all this stuff. It's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like we were saying, you can, I was at the gym at 9 this morning. I wouldn't have been able to do that with my other job.
Yeah.
But it's also, I got more gray hair than my friends too, and I'm only 25.
Dude.
So
that's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what this is like, I'm just listening to like all what you got going. I have a good feeling that if you roll out direct mail in your market and do some SEO, you will fucking dominate, because I don't know what the competition level is like there, but like I'm doing direct mail in like New York, which is bananas, and it's still profitable. I think if you could roll in some direct mail and then roll in like some SEO stuff where like, it's relatively cheap. I feel like in the small market, like you can get a carrot ranked at the top pretty quickly, maybe within like 6 to 12 months. And then those leads are
so you're spot on, because we just 3 weeks ago, the first mail hit. So we started doing mail 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Good.
So, but SEO, that's the next on the list. I got to get that going.
Yeah.
So I know you're right about that. I just haven't taken the initiative yet.
That's awesome, dude. Well, fortunately, there's some people in Investor Fuel that really know what they're doing with both of those channels. So, you'll be able to definitely get the best practices. Well, cool, dude. Well, listen, I mean, I got to run in a couple minutes, so I got to wrap up the interview here. So, let's just end with some parting words. We've covered a lot of ground today. So like, I think a lot of the advice we've probably already shared on the show, but like, let's say there's someone listening right now. They're in our shoes. They're in their 20s. They don't want to have a job, or, they just don't want to work for someone else. They want to work for themselves and then eventually build a business.
Right.
What, if we had to boil it down to like, if you had to give them the best advice possible in 30 seconds or less, I want to really condense this. What would you say that advice would be to have them have the best chance of having success?
This is going to be so cliche. It would be consistent. Just be first of all, take the leap, make the sacrifice. I mean, it wasn't easy. Like some of my personal relationships went kind of downhill for a while there at the beginning of this. Like it wasn't easy by any means. But take the leap, be consistent with what you're doing, and don't stop being consistent, and focus on whatever it is that's going to, don't be doing everything that everyone's telling you to do. Focus on one thing and do it. And if you focus, like I have written there, focus on 3 hot leads. Like, if I ever stop, like the volume slows down, that's what I go to. Just focus on 3 hot leads. Cause that's, it's so simple. It's so almost stupid, but it's like, it's so the truth.
Simple. Yeah. It's
focus and consistency. I think you can't go wrong. But make the leap and fail forward. Like it's scary, it's stressful, but it's worth it for sure.
So true, man. And it's funny. I was hanging out with some engineers the other day, and they're very smart, and they want to consider getting into real estate. And I was telling them, I said, I'll be honest, if a guy like me can do this business, and I am a knuckle dragging Neanderthal for the most part, you guys could probably come and do this business and blow me out of the water, because it's not like we're not geniuses. I mean, this is not like I feel like the business is really more mindset because like the systems and the mechanics are like talk to human being, make offer, send
100%.
email. You know what I mean? So there's no like methodical, like it's nothing crazy. You just got to but I feel like people who are really smart sometimes they outsmart themselves and then they they don't think it's that simple because they're like, oh, it's got to be harder than it actually is. And I'm like, no, you got to make like 2 to 3 offers a day. And if you do that for 90 days, you're going to have 15 grand in the bank because you probably have bought a house and wholesaled it. And they're like, well, and I'm like, no. Like, I'm telling you, if you just do that and you report back to me in 90 days, you're probably going to have 15 grand in your bank account. And if you don't, we can look at the data and figure out what went wrong. And then 15 days or 90 days later, they'll guaranteed be 15 grand. You know what I mean?
Right. The hard part, I think it's like so true. The hard part is it's not like doing the process. The hard part is not making the offers the hard part is making the offers for 90 days.
Yes. It's the lag. Yeah. It's the lag.
It's not making the offers, it's making the offers every day for 90 days and getting 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you get
momentum. Yep. And then all of a sudden, you're making money every month and it's a game changer. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Texas in a couple of weeks. If people want to follow you or connect with you, like what's the best way for them to reach out to you if they were inspired?
Yeah, I'm not huge I'm on social media. So I would say Instagram's probably the best way to reach out to me. It's M and then my last name, Yenke, Yenke 42. That's my Instagram. If they DM me, I'm happy to answer them.
Cool.
I'm not huge on there's not a lot of people DMing me, so I'll definitely see it. I'm not big on
I'm sure you'll get some DMs after this interview for sure. So
okay.
You'll probably get
so happy to help. I mean, whatever I can do to help and
totally.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
And you know what? Next time I'm in Boston, we got to go to a Bruins game because I love going to hockey games. So we'll go to a Bruins game next time I'm up there. I love doing that. Like going to sporting events with real estate investors is like one of my favorite things to do. It's just like a mastermind.
That'd be awesome.
So we'll set something up. I'm back in the Northeast all the time, like once a month, honestly. So we'll figure something out. I'll catch you at Investor Fuel in a couple of weeks. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. This was a lot of fun.
Sounds good. You too, Greg. Thanks for having me on.